I am Marianne van der Zanden, and with Marie Saucier, we are co-presidents for Maine BPW. It is our pleasure to welcome the 2014 Hall of Fame inductees. Previous honorees, honorable guests, committee members, supporters, friends, and family. First, I would like to thank the Maine Women's Hall of Fame Committee and judging committees for everything they have done to make this a very special evening. The two women honored today are a true inspiration to girls and women everywhere. Laurie and Patricia are the leaders of today and the influence of tomorrow. Today, they join the ranks of such esteemed women as Margaret Chase Smith and Mabel Wadsworth in Maine Women's Hall of Fame, and we congratulate them. I would like to take a moment to speak about a topic that's very near and dear to many of you here today, the ERA. Maine Business and Professional Women, in conjunction with the AAUW, the ACLU of Maine, the Mabel Wadsworth Women's Health Center, and the University of Maine held a workshop for the purpose of ERA education this past fall. Sandy Ostrick, former president of the National Equal Rights Amendment Alliance and ERA Education, was a guest speaker from Florida via Skype. Sandy has asked for our help. Florida has many ERA supporters and the votes to pass the amendment. Both the Florida Senate President and Speaker are in support. Would it shock you to know that one man is standing in the way? All that needs to be done is to bring the amendment to the floor for a vote. The Local Federal Affairs Committee is the committee that the ERA has been assigned to. Eddie Gonzalez is the chair of that committee. We have been asked to show our support by calling and emailing him to encourage him to bring HCR 8001 to the floor. On the reception table, as you came in, there are business cards with his information available for those who are willing to do so. Again, we want to congratulate the inductees and thank everyone who has put on such a wonderful evening. At this time, I would like to turn the podium over to Dr. Thomas E. Abbott, Dean of Libraries and Distant Learning at the University of Maine at Augusta, and who has been involved with the Hall of Fame since the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. On behalf of Allison Hanley, President of the University of Maine at Augusta, who is traveling, she sends her best to everyone, and congratulations to Laurie and Trish. Welcome. What a great turnout. And if you'll indulge me just a moment, I want to just tell you a little story about memories. Patty Burgoyne, probably 1997 or 98, came to the University of Maine at Augusta and said, hey, what do you think about having a Women's Hall of Fame here at the University of Maine at Augusta? We said, sure, it sounds like a great idea. No idea what that meant. She was very persuasive and a wonderful young woman, and we miss her. That evolved to 25 years later today and this wonderful event. And how many inductees? Did anyone count them up?
There are 8 previous inductees and 2 new ones.
8, okay, 10 inductees here tonight. Two new ones, yes. The other part of the story that I want to share with you, on the very first event, sitting over in the library where my office is, Margaret Chase Smith was the first inductee. I was excited. I knew a lot about her. She came to the office in preparation and came in and sat down in the leather chair that I have in my office. And what do you say to somebody like Margaret Chase Smith? And so I said, gee, you look a lot taller, just to be silly. And she laughed. thankfully, and we had a wonderful event. The second part of the story, which I will remember forever, is unexpected. Went out to the podium and we chatted and she was introduced. And the first thing she said was to thank me for hosting and supporting the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. We're honored to do that, happy to have you all here and happy to have the Hall of Fame at the University of Maine at Augusta. And special thanks to BPW Maine and the Futurama Foundation and all those folks who made this possible. So, welcome.
Good evening. I'm Judith Clark, president of the BPW Maine Futurama Foundation, and I'd like to say thank you to Dean Abbott, Congressman Michaud, distinguished guests, previous inductees, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us tonight. It's a pleasure to see you all. And to welcome you on behalf of the Futurama Foundation to this 25th anniversary celebration of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. And it's wonderfully appropriate that this festive occasion, we are inducting two such outstanding candidates as Laurie Lachance and Patricia Ryan. Congratulations to you both. Laurie and Pat and their predecessors serve as role models for today's women. Their advocacy and activism are well known, and you will hear much more about them this evening. The Futurama Foundation supports future leaders by offering scholarships to help women improve their lives through education. And by being here today, you are showing your support not only for Laurie and Pat, but for the scholarships that can help other women to achieve their full potential and hopefully make their contribution to our communities. For this, I thank you all. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. It is great to see you here as we celebrate 25 years of honoring Maine Women of Achievement. And I appreciate each of you taking time to be here. The social hour featured Maine wine and cheese, and the meal featured Maine beef, Maine salmon, and a lot of Maine products. We wanted this to be a real celebration of Maine, not just Maine women, but Maine everything. And during the social hour, we had beautiful Celtic flute music provided by Debbie Liskinsky, a local professional flutist, for you to enjoy. And there was a display of all the previous inductees' pictures and scrapbooks of their inductions downstairs on the first floor, where you got your name badges and hopefully signed our guest book. We keep all of that as the history of our event. And in keeping with this event, I'd like to also thank Kevin Michaud and the Aramec here at UMA for providing a special buffet for us here tonight. And now I would like to thank the representatives from our three co-sponsors for their opening remarks and greetings this evening. The BPW Maine, University of Maine at Augusta, and the BPW Maine Futurama Foundation have all been deeply involved with us. And this is a great time to recognize all the sponsors and all this means to inductees and to future inductees, hopefully, that might take part of the scholarships that we give out from the proceeds from the event to keep helping women over the time. And we hold a ceremony each year in March at UMA in observance of Women's History Month. And for all of the 25 years, we have been doing it here. And we appreciate having the UMA as generously providing the site for the display in the library. And now I'd like to have us enjoy special remarks, and we are very pleased to have the Honorable Mike Michaud, Member of Congress, join us again for another year to welcome us. And please step forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a very honor to be back with you again this year. I'll start off with 5 words. I don't have to tell anyone here in this room what they mean. When women succeed, America succeeds. I learned that a long time ago from my mother, so. But I am honored to be here once again this evening to personally congratulate this year's inductees into the Maine Women Hall of Fame and to celebrate its 25th anniversary. In 1990, as you know, the Maine Federation of Business and Professional Women's Club established the Maine Women's Hall of Fame to honor Maine's most outstanding women here in the state of Maine. And every March, to celebrate a group of women to recognize their significance, what they have done in contributing to our state is an important event. And I want to thank Sally Ann Parks for her work in organizing tonight's celebration and all the staff as well. This year's dinner is noteworthy for its use of Maine's products as well. And I want to thank you for showcasing and supporting our local businesses, and hopefully those of you who are in the business community that you continue to support Maine businesses by buying their products as well. And I also would like to take the opportunity tonight to thank the host of this event as well. Appreciate all the support that you've given for this particular event. And many past honorees are here with us tonight. I've actually been to your inductees events over the years, and I want to congratulate you and thank you for being here this evening. And you continue to make significant contributions to our state. So let's give all the previous inductees a round of applause for all their work. And tonight, 2 accomplished women join this distinguished list of Mainers, Laurie Lachance and Patricia Ryan. I've known both of these women for a number of years, my tenure working in the Maine legislature, and I can tell you with Laurie has distinguished herself as a trailblazer for Maine women. Laurie has served as the first female president of Thomas College, the Maine Development Foundation, and the first female state economist. And she is an inspiration and an example for women and girls who aspire to make positive contributions to the state of Maine. So I want to thank you very much, Laurie, for all that you've done and for your friendship over the years, and congratulations for being inducted this evening to the Women's Hall of Fame. And Patricia is an aspiring model for all Mainers in her own right. She has served our state as the executive director of the Maine Human Rights Commission and as a founding member of the Maine's Women Lobby. Patricia has improved the lives of countless individuals, fighting discrimination and providing women a strong voice in Maine's government. It's been a pleasure working with you a number of years, Patricia, and want to congratulate you as well for being inducted tonight in the Maine Women Hall of Fame. And I'm honored for the opportunity, once again, for 2 fine, outstanding women here in the state of Maine who I've known for a number of years to be here this evening as you both are inducted in the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. You definitely have set the standard once again with the previous women who've been inducted. So congratulations to both of you and your family members for being here with you to give you the support and the love that I know that both of you appreciate from your entire family. So once again, congratulations. May God bless both of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Representative Michaud, for joining us tonight for the special remarks and for being part of our program. We really appreciate you taking time to do this over the years. And our other congressional delegation was unable to be here, but they have each sent remarks to be shared from videos. And we're going to hear from Honorable Susan Collins, U.S. Senator, the Honorable Angus King, U.S. Senator, and the Honorable Shelley Pingree, Member of Congress. They've each provided a video for a short one. If you will look at the screen, we will have a couple of minute video from each of them.
Good evening. To paraphrase an old saying, behind every great state, there are great women. For 25 years, the Maine Women's Hall of Fame has paid well-deserved tribute to our great state's great women. It's such a pleasure to welcome to the Hall of Fame the two women you honored this year, Laurie Lachance and Pat Ryan. Both are women of so many accomplishments, of so many firsts, who have made great contributions to our state. They join an illustrious group of women who have distinguished themselves in public service, science, education, athletics, and the arts. In addition to honoring the leaders of today, the Hall of Fame helps provide girls and young women throughout Maine with the role models that will inspire them to become the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you, Laurie and Pat, for your tremendous service to our state, and congratulations on this well-deserved honor.
What a great celebration, the 25th annual celebration of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. And tonight you're honoring two of my very favorite people. First, I want to congratulate the folks who put all this together, and I'm sorry that I can't be there in person, although I suspect my friend Edie Smith and Kara Pavlak from my office are there. I am told that they were certainly planning to be there. But what I really want to say is what a great idea this is to honor the outstanding women who have served and will serve our state. And tonight, you've really hit the jackpot with two wonderful honorees. Laurie Lachance I've known for 20 plus years. She worked with me when I was in the governor's office, and she was the state economist. I've been in touch with her over the years. Since then, I know now she's at Thomas. I've met with her up there, and in fact, I recommended her to Thomas. I don't know if it helped or not. Maybe it even hurt. But in my recommendation, here's what I said. To each opportunity, Laurie brings the same abundant enthusiasm and unflagging optimism in the belief that positive thinking can overcome real obstacles and turn the most hostile skeptics into ardent promoters of new ideas. I guarantee that we haven't realized all the great things that Laurie will introduce and make happen. Boy, do I believe that. Laurie is a real leader, and she's also proof that attitude really is almost everything. Of course, she's bright, well-educated, knowledgeable, thoughtful, but it's also her enthusiasm and her positive attitude that I think enables her to achieve so much and has enabled her to achieve so much. The truth is, I think she's just getting started. I think we're going to see great things happening at Thomas College under her leadership. They're lucky to have her, and boy, are we lucky to have her in Maine. So, Laurie, congratulations to you, and congratulations to the Women's Hall of Fame for selecting Laurie. And of course, Pat Ryan is another superstar. I've known Pat at least as long as Laurie, perhaps a bit longer. She's a resident of Brunswick. She and I see each other in St. Paul's Church pretty much every Sunday morning. But she's the heart and soul of the Maine Human Rights Commission. As you know, she was the executive director, I think, from 1979 to 2011. Good gracious, that's 34 years, 33 years. That's a long tenure. And she was always so thoughtful, so conscientious, dealing with a varied board, dealing with very difficult issues, and at the same time remained engaged in a whole range of issues in Maine, including particularly involvement with the Maine Women's Lobby, which, as many of you know, what Mary Herman was doing when I first met her. She was the second lobbyist, I think, for the Maine Women's Lobby, so I always have a soft spot for that institution. And I know that Pat was one of the founders of the Maine Women's Lobby and has been involved in gender equality issues for, well, forever, as long as she's been in Maine. She brings to these jobs tremendous integrity and character and honesty and perseverance. All of those are the true qualities of leadership that we used to list when I was teaching that course at Bowdoin. At the end of the year, we'd tote up what the qualities were. And the most important, we always determined at the end of the year, was character. And I think that's what both of these nominees have. They're people of deep honesty and integrity, deep set of principles, tremendous energy and perseverance. They're the best that Maine has to offer. I'm so glad that I have this chance to congratulate both of them electronically. I'll also congratulate you personally the next time I have a chance. Have a great evening. My best to Laurie and Pat, and I just think this is a wonderful opportunity to honor these two really, really outstanding daughters of Maine. Thanks.
Hello. Every year, the Maine Women's Hall of Fame inducts one or two women for their outstanding work to make a difference in the lives of Maine women and girls. This year is no exception. I'm so excited that Laurie Lachance and Pat Ryan have been chosen as the inductees. Congratulations to both of you, and thank you for the lasting impact you have made in our state. And there are other contributions to recognize today as well, the ones made by the Maine Women's Hall of Fame itself. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in person, but it gives me great pleasure to help mark the 25th anniversary of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame's motto is, honoring the past, inspiring the future, and that is exactly what it has done for the last 25 years. Spanning many decades, the 41 inductees into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame include women who have provided safe harbor for victims of abuse, given counsel to young mothers, and who have been strong voices for reproductive choice. They are women who have trained other women for new careers and work to make sure that those newly trained women get the compensation and opportunity they have rightfully earned. They have empowered young women to follow their own dreams, and they are women who have fought to enact the policies that set all of these areas of progress into law. In doing so, these women have demonstrated exceptional leadership, passion, tenacity, compassion, and commitment to the changing way of lives for the women in this state. But more than recognizing individual accomplishments, the Hall of Fame also honors all who have joined these women in their important work. Behind every inductee, there are dozens of Maine women and men who all have been partners, allies, and supporters in their fight. By highlighting their work as important, the Hall of Fame recognizes them as well and empowers many more to join the cause. I want to make it very clear. I am truly honored to be part of this wonderful group. Being part of this group is a special honor, as well as being very humbling. It challenges me every day to live up to the honor and to strive for the high standards set by my fellow honorees. I would like to thank the Maine Federation of Business and Professional Women for its leadership in creating the Maine Women's Hall of Fame 25 years ago, as well as the University of Maine at Augusta for supporting it. But most of all, I would like to thank and congratulate Sally Ann Parks for leading this effort since its inception 25 years ago. You have done a tremendous job, and we all owe you a great debt of gratitude. My congratulations again to Laurie and Pat, and I thank everyone here today for the important work you do for women, Maine, and the world. Take care. Take care.
I hope you all enjoyed their brief messages welcoming you here tonight and helping us celebrate our 25 years. We appreciate them taking time to do it. And we also appreciate each of the three of them, along with Congressman Mike Mitchell, providing a letter in the front of the program booklet from each of them so that you can have that to look over. And in addition, there is a letter from the governor and from each of our sponsors that you can look at later as they are writing this for us as part of our celebration. And then we also, as part of the commemorative booklet, if you look in the middle of the book or the next couple pages, you can notice that we had a display on the third floor of the State House, the legislature, from March 1st to March 14th this year. And we had had a display there before, 10 years ago in 2004, 2005, and 2007, where the pictures of our inductees in the Hall of Fame were displayed. And you can see that we had them this year on two different boards that were made by the son-in-law and grandson of one of our BPW members, Marilyn Ladd. It was Russell and Joe Suker. They built the display, and we had it downstairs tonight so that you could see it. So now we have a permanent way of displaying it, other than in the library itself, where the permanent display is on the wall of the library by the circulation desk, where it connects to the addition to the library. So we're pleased to have that there. And then with the display being at the legislature, you can see the picture on the right. The Sergeant of Arms and one of his staff helped us get the pictures in as we were setting it up that day. And we also had, as the above picture shows, the pictures of our two new inductees, and we're very pleased to have them there. And another part with the legislature is that they were working on a joint resolution honoring the Hall of Fame and our inductees this year. It was supposed to be read in the legislature on Thursday, but we all know what Maine does to us when things are planned. We had a snowstorm and the legislature didn't convene that day, but we will have it. It will be a joint resolution that will be passed, I believe, this coming week. And one of the sponsors of this is a BPW Maine past state president and a member of the legislature now from Holton, Maine. Joyce Fitzpatrick is going to read what the resolution would have been if we'd had it signed, but it's still the same thing, although it will be official next week. Joyce?
Thank you, Sally Ann. I think it was very appropriate that Shelley Pingree recognized Sally Ann for all the work that she does to make this possible. In the house, I have a gavel to make everybody sit down. And when Sally Ann asked me to sponsor this resolution, I was very pleased to do so. And it was on the calendar for Thursday. Millie asked me if I wanted to do a special supplement so we could slip it in on Wednesday, and I said, no, we'll let it go. We know it's official. Next Tuesday, we'll accept it. The joint resolution recognizing March as National Women's History Month. Whereas March has been annually designated as National Women's History Month in order to celebrate the contributions of women to our society and to honor the extraordinary and often unrecognized determination and tenacity of women. And whereas the theme for National Women's History Month 2014 is celebrating women of character, courage, and commitment. And whereas these traits are revealed in those women who challenge and change laws, who conduct new medical research, who share stories of compassion, leadership, and courage, and who achieve against great odds. And whereas women from all walks of life all over the nation are mentors and examples, athletes, activists, writers, scientists, educators, homemakers, advocates, politicians, and survivors. And whereas the state of Maine is known and respected for its long list of accomplished women in its society, be it in politics, literature, sports, or entertainment, And we take this opportunity to make note of some of these women who have been beacons of hope and inspiration to all people in our state. And whereas we recognize the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, which is celebrating 25 years of honoring Maine women, and we celebrate the following famous Maine women who have inspired us and have been inducted into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, and they're all listed, all 41, including the two new ones, Laurie Lachance and Patricia Ryan. And with the women inducted into the Maine Federation of Business and Professional Women's Hall of Fame, Patricia Carol Burgoyne, Jean Littlefield Hammond, and Arlene Rebecca Andrews Lovejoy. And whereas we also take this opportunity to honor and celebrate Maine women who go unrecognized and who have shown their tenacity and dedication through their daily actions, now therefore be it resolved that we, the members of the 126th Legislature, now assembled in the second regular session on behalf of the people we represent, take this opportunity to honor and celebrate National Women's History Month and to extend our sincere appreciation to all Maine women who have unselfishly shown character, courage, and commitment. And it will be signed and official on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joyce. It is nice to know that what we're doing is recognized and that our inductees are recognized by the joint sessions of the House and the Senate, and we'll be pleased to have that as part of our history of the event. And as you've been hearing, we established the Hall of Fame in 1990, and nominations each year are submitted by a variety of organizations, businesses, individuals, and we have an independent panel of judges that review all the nominations and consider all of them and select one or two each year to be inducted. The Hall of Fame is dedicated to women who have met three specific criteria. The woman's achievement have had a statewide impact. The woman's achievement significantly improved the lives of women in Maine, and the woman's contribution has enduring value to women. The National Women's Hall of Fame was established in Seneca Falls, New York. In 1990, BPW Maine and BPW Maine past state presidents founded the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, and many past state presidents were involved to different degrees. It was during the presidency of BPW Maine past state president Patty Burgoyne that we established the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. The committee working with her included Carol Souveny, who is also here tonight, and we appreciate her being here as one of the ones that was involved in the founding of it. And she and Patty were at some of the organizational meetings too, including one with Senator Margaret Shea Smith, when it was decided we would only honor one of two inductees each year to make it special, because if you have a lot each year, it becomes more of a laundry list like a sports Hall of Fame, and not really recognizing one of two women that in 25 years you can look back and understand why that person was recognized at the time. And then when we were looking for locations, there were several places were considered, and University of Maine at Augusta, Patty Burgoyne and Carol and others to talk to people, and including Tom Abbott, who was gracious enough to allow us to consider having the Hall of Fame here. Initially, it was for, 5 years, and then got continued on, and here it is 25 years, and Tom has been involved to differing degrees all these years, and we really appreciate all of your support. And at this time, I would like to have Tom please come forward. The Business and Professional Women of Maine and the BPW Maine Futurama Foundation present this special Silver Anniversary Maine Women's Hall of Fame Certificate of Appreciation to Dr. Thomas E. Abbott, Dean of Libraries and Distance Learning, University of Maine at Augusta, presented March 15, 2014 at the University of Maine at Augusta, signed by Rayanne Vander Zanden, BPW Maine Co-President, and Judith Clark, BPW Maine Futurama Foundation. Thank you for all of your help and support. And it wouldn't have been possible without having such great support from him over the years, and it's been great to have someone there at the university that has been, willing to work with us. And some of the ones from the university have become, inductees in the Hall of Fame. So we've got to know a lot of different people, and we especially appreciate all of your support, and the universities as well. And to highlight this occasion, you may have noticed, besides the program booklet, we have a pin that is here. And we established a logo for the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, and we developed a pin honoring the past, inspiring the future, and it's got the little initials and Maine Women's Hall of Fame are the points of the star, because the money we raise from this, and during the year we give out scholarships, and information about the scholarships is over there. If you know someone who would like to apply for the scholarships, there are applications there. And now, at this time, I would like Ray Ann Vander Zanden and Judith Clark to come forward to present highlights on each of our previous inductees. And if each of you that are here would just please stand when your name is read, then afterwards we'll ask you to all come up as a group when you have something for you.
So these are the inductees of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame from 1990 to 2013. You already know about the 2014 inductees. We begin with Senator Margaret Chase Smith in 1990. She was United States Senator from 1949 to 1973 and was nominated by BPW Skowhegan and the Margaret Chase Smith Library. In that same year, Mabel S. Wadsworth, founder and first president of Maine Family Planning Association, was inducted, and she was nominated by Family Planning Association of Maine and the Mabel Wadsworth Women's Health Center. In 1991, Gail Laughlin, J.D., first national president of BPW USA, nominated by BPW Holton, and Dr. Elizabeth Russell of the Jackson Laboratories in Bar Harbor, nominated by AAUW of Maine. In 1992, Dean Ninetta M. Runnels, Dean of Women and Professor of Mathematics at Colby College, nominated by BPW Waterville. In 1993, Dorothy Murphy Healy, curator and co-founder of the Maine Women Writers Collection at Westbrook College, nominated by AAUW of Maine. And Gilda E. Nardone, first and only director of Maine Displaced Homemakers Program, nominated by Val Sherman, BPW Maine, past state president. And now I give it over to Rayanne.
In 1994, Esther Elizabeth Wood, author, journalist, and professor of history at Gorham State Teachers College. She was nominated by BPW Skowhegan and Gorham Alumni Association, class of 1948. In 1995, Eloise A. Vitale, Associate Director of Maine Center for Women, Work and Community, nominated by Maine Centers for Women, Work and Community. In 1996, Elizabeth Liz W. Crandall, home economics, feminist, citizen activist, nominated by AAUW of Maine. And Marty Stevens, humanitarian, educator, and director of theater, nominated by BPW Skowhegan. In 1997, Ethel Billy Gammon, founder, Washburn New Orleans Living History Center. She was a teacher and humanitarian, nominated by BPW Livermore Falls. Mildred Brownie Scrumpf, home economist, nutritionist, columnist, humanist, author, and cook, nominated by the Bangor Daily News, University of Maine General Alumni Association, and Priscilla Dodge. In 1998, Lois Galgay Reckitt, women's advocate, human rights protector, skillful mediator, articulate educator, and dedicated feminist, nominated by BPW Bath. In 1999, Elizabeth Libby M. Mitchell, first female Speaker of the Maine House of Representatives, nominated by Maine Centers for Women, Working Community, and Women's Legislative Agenda Coalition. Back to you.
And also in 1999, Senator Olympia J. Snow, United States Senator since 1995, nominated by BPW Caribou. In 2000, Professor Caroline Gentile, educator in the field of health, physical education, and recreation, nominated by University of Maine at Presque Isle. Joan Benoit Samuelson, first women's Olympic marathon winner in 1984, nominated by BPW Augusta. In 2001, Linda Smith Dyer, JD, co-founder of Maine Women's Lobby, nominated by Board of Directors, Maine Women's Lobby. Shelley Pingree, former Majority Leader of Maine Senate, nominated by Maine Centers for Women Work in Community and Maine Equal Justice Project. 2002, Dr. Theodora J. Calico, President of the University of Maine at Farmington, who was nominated by Waterville Branch, AAUW of Maine. Dr. Nancy Hensel, in 2003, President of the University of Maine at Presque Isle, nominated by Western Mountain Alliance and University of Maine at Farmington. In 2004, Sharon H. Abrams, Executive Director of the Maine Children's Home for Little Wanderers, nominated by Kennebec Savings Bank. And
Also in 2004, Judith McGarr Isaacson, educator, Holocaust survivor, and author of Seed of Sarah, Memoirs of a Survivor, nominated by Bates College. In 2005, Patricia M. Collins, community leader and artist, nominated by BPW Caribou. Judy Ayat Parody, educator, senator, representative, humanitarian, and author, nominated by Franco-American Heritage Center at St. Mary's. In 2006, the Right Reverend Chilton R. Knudsen, Episcopal Bishop of Maine since 1998, nominated by Evelyn Schofield Rowland, BPW Maine past state president, and the Episcopal Diocese of Maine. In 2007 was Laura Fortman, Commissioner of the Maine Department of Labor, nominated by Sarah Standiford and the Maine Women's Lobby. And Dale McCormick, founder of Women Unlimited, Maine Lesbian Gay Political Alliance, nominated by Katy Perry. I don't think it was the same state. In 2008, it was Karen Heck, feminist, community activist, champion for women's rights, and co-creator of the Hardy Girls Healthy Women, nominated by Megan Williams, executive director of Hardy Girls Healthy Women. And also Florence Brooks Whitehouse, artist, writer, suffrage leader, peace activist, feminist, devoted wife, and mother, nominated by Ann B. Gass, great-granddaughter of Florence Brooks Whitehouse.
And in 2009, Sharon Barker, Director of Women's Resources Center, University of Maine, Orono, nominated by Dr. Robert C. White, Associate Provost, Dean, University of Maine. 2010, Thelma Swain, wife, mother, volunteer, philanthropist, and quiet champion for the underdog, nominated by Kennebec Savings Bank. In 2011, the Honorable Susan M. Collins, United States Senator, nominated by Mary G. Canning, BPW Caribou, and BPW Fort Kent. And Catherine Ogilvie Musgrave, DSC, Professor Emerita of Food Service and Human Nutrition, University of Maine, registered dietitian, wife, mother, dedicated teacher of nutrition, and advocate for sound practice of nutrition, who was nominated by Karen W. Baldacci and Susan J. Hunter. In 2012, Mary Farah, Victim Witness Advocate since 1990, nominated by Allison Hughes Handley, Ed D., President, University of Maine at Augusta, and Ruth L. Lockhart, co-founder and executive director, Mabel Wadsworth Women's Health Center, nominated by Sharon Barker of Bangor, Director, Women's Resource Center, University of Maine, 2009 inductee in the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. In 2013, Lynn Mikkel Brown, Ed D., community activist, professor of education at Colby College, co-creator of Hardy Girls, Healthy Women, nominated by Megan Williams, President, and Jackie DuPont, Vice President of Programming, Hardy Girls, Healthy Women. And Mary R. Cathcart, former Maine State Representative and State Senator, Senior Policy Associate with Margaret Chase Smith Policy Center at the University of Maine, was nominated by the Penobscot Valley Branch, AAUW, of Maine.
In 2009, 3 women were inducted. Patricia Patty Carol Burgoyne, President of the Augusta Area BPW from 1984 to 1986. President of the Maine Federation, which is BPW Maine, 1989 to 1990. At 31, the youngest state president in the country. Conceived of and helped establish the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, which held its first induction ceremony in March 1990. BPW Maine Member of the Year in 1990. Established the Patty Burgoyne Membership Award, which is presented annually at the BPW Maine State Conference. President of BPW Maine Futurama Foundation from 1990 to 1991. Jean Littlefield Hammond, Business and Professional Women active member since 1955. President, Vice President, and Secretary of the Waterville BPW. President of the Maine Federation, BPW Maine, 1984 and 1985. District Director and Chair of many BPW Maine committees, State Magazine, Brevities, Legislative, ERA, Women in Transition, and Membership Expansion. Helped with starting the Maine Women's Hall of Fame with other BPW Maine past state president. Chair of BPW Maine Futurama Foundation Scholarship Committee for several years, and the Jeannie L. Hammond Memorial Scholarship was established in her memory. Founding trustee of BPW Maine Futurama Foundation, was president for several years until her death. Arlene Andrews Lovejoy, Business and Professional Women active member since 1941. President, Vice President, and Secretary of the Winthrop BPW. President of the Maine Federation, BPW Maine, 1976 and 1977. President of New England BPW past state presidents, 1981 and 1982. Helped with Maine Women's Hall of Fame, served with other BPW Maine past state presidents on Silver Tea Committee, preparing and serving punch from 1990 to 2004. Chair of BPW Maine Futurama Scholarship Committee for 20 years, beginning in 1980s, with Arlene Andrews Lovejoy Scholarship was established in her memory.
Thank you both for taking time to remind us of all the great Maine women that we have had, honoring all that they have done for Maine women and girls and everyone in the state. I think it's, nice for us to remember at our 25th anniversary the wide variety of things that Maine have done. That's why we did the commemorative program booklet, so you can have this and use this as an idea of possibly nominating someone for the future. But we need to remember what Maine women have been doing. History is great at remembering what all men have done. This is our chance to honor what women have done. And now I would like to ask each of the previous inductees that are here to please step forward. Instead of trying to have you all come through at the time your name was called, if you would just all come forward now. We have a special pin for you. You each got a pin at your place when you sat down, and then we have a special one that is set up for inductees, and I will ask each of you to. So I just want to. And they're very similar to the ones that everyone else has, except at the bottom there's a special thing that says inductee. And we wanted to have each of you have a chance to have a little difference, but still very similar to the one that we've established. And at this time, I would also like to have Patty Burgoyne's mother and sister come forward. It was during her year, their daughter's year as state president, that the Hall of Fame was established, and I'd like to have one for each of you to have, trying to keep them here, not knocking them. And I'd like to have you have those, and I'd like to thank each of you for being here tonight, for taking time to have a group picture of all the inductees downstairs when we were trying to get it for our history. And thank you all for joining us tonight. If you would all like to recognize them for all they have done. Okay, thank you, ladies. We appreciate all that you have done and wanted to share with a corsage and a special pin for you tonight and recognize all that you have done, and a wide variety of things that Maine women have done. And now we will get to what has been our usual induction, and we will start with the induction of Laurie Lachance, the first female president of Thomas College, the first female president of the Maine Development Foundation, and the first female state economist. She was nominated by Dr. James D. Libby, Academic Dean, Thomas College, and Patricia Ryan, former Executive Director of the Maine Human Rights Commission and founding member of the Maine Women's Lobby. She was nominated by Dana Hayes, Maine Women's Lobby. And now we will have the induction part of the ceremony begin for Laurie Lachance. If Laurie would like to come forward and sit here, and so that we can all have a chance to see her face. And then if we would have Dr. James Libby and the other presenters come forward here, and we will have you do the presentation, and I'll present the certificate. Okay, excuse me.
Great. Okay, thank you to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame and Sally Ann. This has really been impressive, and the staff. It's really been an impressive night tonight, and thank you so much for inviting us. My name is James Libby, and I currently serve as the Academic Dean at Thomas College, and we're all honored that the Hall has accepted our recommendation that our leader and current president of Thomas College, Laurie Lachance, be admitted to the ranks of the most honored women in Maine. When one reads the list of honorees to this great hall, it's a humbling experience. Today, I get a chance to introduce to you three speakers: Ashley Chittum, a graduate student at Thomas College; Merlene Sanborn, the Assistant Dean for Graduate and Continuing Studies; and the honoree, Laurie Lachance. But before I do that, I want to make just a couple of brief remarks. First, nominating Laurie was one of the easiest things I've ever done. And I got a chance to talk to our faculty at Thomas College recently about this, and I said, when I put together the binder, and it was a pretty thick binder, that I submitted to the Hall of Fame, I compared that to opposition research, which Mike is very familiar with, probably at this time. And I have to tell you, you've all done it. You've Googled somebody, and there's 40-some-odd pages come up, and I went through page 45, 46. I couldn't find anything negative on Laurie Lachance. Then I went back and I read all the 40-some-odd pages, and I realized that she really does deserve to be in this hall. She's done so many great things for so many people and led institutions, the very important institutions, into the future. So it's with that just great honor that that I'm going to be a part of this tonight, and I can't thank you enough for the opportunity. I'm going to start by introducing one of the folks that wrote a letter on behalf of Laurie. We always start with our students at Thomas College, so I'm going to start with Ashley Chittum. Ashley graduated from Thomas College in May of 2013 with a Bachelor of Science in Finance and Political Science, with a concentration in international relations. In 2012, Ashley spent a month studying abroad in France, and upon returning, started a 7-month internship at the Central Maine Growth Council. In 2013, she attended the Maine New Leadership Institute, a 6-day nonpartisan public leadership training program for women. Ashley is currently working on completing her Master's of Business Administration at Thomas College, while working part-time as a teller at Camden National Bank. And she wrote, as I said, a letter of support for Laurie Lachance. Please welcome Ashley Chittum.
Thank you, Dr. Libby. As you know, I am here to speak about someone whom I truly admire, President Laurie Lachance. Women have made great strides over the years. However, some women still face discrimination and prejudice on a daily basis. Yet women all over the world continue to work hard to make a difference, to alter their lives, and the lives of others. President Laurie Lachance is one of those amazing women who have worked so hard to open doors for the women of future generations. I would like to think that I am on that list. Students at Thomas look up to President Lachance. You heard earlier, President Lachance earned her bachelor's degree from Bowdoin College and her MBA from Thomas College. Professionally, she has worked for Central Maine Power as a state economist for 3 governors and as the president and CEO for Maine Development Foundation. President Lachance also serves on several boards, including Educate Maine and as the chair of EduCare Central Maine. She is tireless. She supports people and causes in so many ways. In July 2012, President Laurie Lachance became Thomas College's first female and alumna president. She dedicates an enormous amount of her time to Thomas students, faculty, and staff. President Lachance opened her office doors at Thomas and allowed students the opportunity to voice their opinions about potential changes that could help improve the college immediately upon taking the job. She is continuously encouraging students to volunteer and help support local organizations. By way of example, during the fall of 2013, she sent out an email about an event to get donations of toilet paper for the Mid-Maine homeless shelter. The donations of toilet paper that had been brought in were stacked all around her office, serving as a reminder to students, faculty, and staff to donate. President Lachance was one of 4 prominent female leaders that participated in an event at Colby College in October 2013, Lean in Colby, Women Leaders of Maine. She spoke about the many challenges she faced as a leader, never once discouraging women, but encouraging them to follow their dreams and to lead. I believe that Oprah Winfrey said it best when she said, "I've come to believe that each of us has a personal calling that is as unique as a fingerprint, and that the best way to succeed is to discover what you love and then find a way to offer it to others in the form of service, working hard, and also allowing the energy of the universe to lead you." That describes the attitude of President Lachance. I believe President Lachance was led to Thomas College not only because of her passion for education, but also to make a difference in the lives of many young women. She had already broken many glass ceilings earlier in her career, so it was no surprise that she took a presidency at Thomas College that had never included women. President Lachance broke that barrier, and for me and for us, that opened my eyes to a world of opportunity. Thank you.
Great job. We have a lot of Thomas College students here tonight, and if you wouldn't mind raising your hand if you're a Thomas College student, I hope you get a chance to meet them. Our second speaker is Merlene Sanborn. Merlene grew up in rural Piscataquis County. She had the opportunity to attend college at the University of Maine, Machias as a high school senior at 17 years of age, the first in her family to attend college. She was fascinated with the opportunities presented to her on her first college campus and was inspired to make higher education her career path. She was educated at Maine state institutions, earning a Bachelor of Science in Early Childhood Education at the University of Maine at Machias, and her Master's in Education and Certificate of Advanced Study in Higher Education at the University of Maine. We're actually classmates. She's worked for 5 Maine institutions, 3 university campuses, a community college campus, and she opened a higher education center in her home county of Piscataquis, which operated as a partnership between the University of Maine system and Eastern Maine Community College. Merlene recently joined the Thomas College family as Assistant Dean for Graduate and Continuing Education, and it's been my honor to work with her the past few months. Please give a welcome to Merlene Sanborn.
Thank you so much, Jim. Kind introduction. Good evening, honored guests, past inductees to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, and a special congratulations to tonight's 2 honorees. The tagline for the Maine Women's Hall of Fame is honoring the past, inspiring the future. I am honored and humbled to speak with you on this auspicious occasion, celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. I am particularly honored to share with you my wholehearted enthusiasm for Laurie Lachance's induction tonight to the ranks of women who have forged a path for all Maine women. I'd like to speak to each of the criteria for the selection to the Hall of Fame. The inductee's achievements have a significant statewide impact. Her achievements have significantly improved the lives of women in Maine, and her contribution has enduring value for women. For significant statewide impact, Laurie's extensive work in analysis and forecasting of the forces of economic growth in Maine's economy have informed the actions of our state leadership under 3 governors, an accomplishment never witnessed before or since. This leader's ability to convey the import of the data at hand is legend, but even more profound is her ability to cast a light on the issues most critically challenging the future of our state's economy. The economic challenges of Maine, especially rural Maine, could easily be illustrated as dismal and hopeless. Laurie's positive outlook conveys the economic picture in a light which offers hope and enthusiasm and clear choices to guide our actions as we all work together toward economic stability. Whether talking with a group of emerging leaders in rural Piscataquis County or presenting on the floor of the Senate, Laurie's extensive knowledge and her deep love and personal commitment to the state of Maine continually guide her and inspire others. Our honoree significantly improves the lives of women, no, people, in Maine every time she steps to a podium and models intellect, compassion, and leadership. She is a role model and an inspiration. She advocates data-driven decisions, commitment to the well-being of our state, and an abiding belief that the success of our economy is directly dependent on educating and inspiring each of our citizens to reach their greatest potential. In her current role at Thomas College, our president has the most direct impact on the future of Maine, our young people. 3 decades of economic analysis have led her to the understanding that every economic development initiative under the sun will have no impact without our commitment to inspiring our people to achieve their greatest potential, and Laurie has come to higher education. The visible changes on the Thomas College campus are significant, as are the not-so-visible ones. Laurie's extensive network of business and industry leaders has brought new partnerships to Thomas College and influenced these leaders to forge new partnerships with higher education institutions throughout Maine, all with the mutual objective of making Maine a better place for all of us to live. Her leadership as the state economist, as the president of the Maine Development Foundation, and now as the president of Thomas College, has directly impacted hundreds, if not thousands, of Maine people. Even greater is the enduring impact that these people, for whom she has been an inspiration, they will in turn accomplish great things in their communities and inspire others to continue that legacy of community, compassion, and leadership. Laurie, you've said to me that one of your greatest leadership strategies is to surround yourself with people who lift you and inspire you. As a colleague, a woman, an educator, and a citizen of Maine, I can truly say that your legacy is to lift and inspire those of us who have the great fortune to work in proximity to you and the many Maine citizens who you have impacted by your great leadership. While we honor the past by recognizing your great contributions to date, we all look forward to the ways you will continue to inspire our future. My heartfelt congratulations to you on your much-deserved induction to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame.
All right, we've heard tonight about all of the things that Laurie stands for, and so it's going to give me a great honor to introduce Laurie here tonight. Before I do, I want to just read one more quotation that I found to be very profound, and that was from one of the writers of a letter in support of this nomination, Cheryl Miller of the Maine Development Foundation. She expressed what it was like, to operate under the leadership of our President Lachance in a work environment that was at times made up of women, all women at times. In Cheryl's words, Laurie creates the culture of kindness and honesty. We all became more than we thought we ever could be, both professionally and as an organization. For those who know her, she is consistently one who inspires, empowers, and affirms all those she touches. And as somebody who works for her now, I have to say that we're in great agreement at Thomas College with that sentiment. I introduce to you Laurie Lachance.
Good evening. I can't begin to tell you how humbled I am to be here tonight to honor and celebrate all the incredible women of Maine who have guided and inspired our beloved state. It's also my distinct privilege to share the stage tonight with Patricia Ryan. Pat, as I reflect on the years of service that you've dedicated to preserving, protecting, and restoring the dignity of our people, I'm greatly humbled, and I know that my accomplishments couldn't begin to compare to the lasting legacy that you've left on our state. Thank you for the wonderful work that you've done, and congratulations on this well-deserved honor tonight. Jim, Merlene, and Ashley, thank you so much for your kind words, and for all the work you put in, along with my dear friends Cheryl Miller and Angus King, for nominating me tonight for this honor. And a special thanks to the Hall of Fame Selection Committee and to all those who worked to plan and host this wonderful, wonderful induction ceremony. I'm very, very grateful for that. As I was preparing for this evening, I couldn't help about thinking about two people who would have been more excited about this event than anybody in this room tonight, and that would have been my mom and dad. It doesn't quite seem right to be celebrating that without them. But that's why I'm so incredibly thankful that my surrogate parents are with me tonight. My very precious mother-in-law and father-in-law, Connie and Ed Lachance, and some of the parents of my very best friends, Olin and Willie Sawyer and Myrna Alden. Thank you so much for being here for me. Thank you. So tonight we celebrate success. Success earned over a career and a lifetime. Success is a really interesting word because it means very different things to different people. In his book, The Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell did a deep dive into studying successful people in an effort to determine what are the attributes and factors that led to their success. After a great deal of research, looking at people in many cultures, people around the globe, in many points of our history, he determined that success is not really determined by your level of genius or wealth or position in society, but it's greatly influenced by where you were born, when you were born, and what opportunities you were given. And fortunately for me, I was born in the right place at the right time with the right people. I was born in a state that values hard work and teaches humility. I was born at a time in our history when women were actually considered and given a chance for positions of responsibility and potential growth. And I was blessed, and I do mean blessed, to be surrounded by people, many of whom were men, who were open-minded enough to give me opportunities and who were kind enough to mentor and guide me and pick me up every time I would stumble and fall. Think about it. If I had been born 11 years earlier, at the time when my sister Brenda was born, I would never have been able to go to Bowdoin because women weren't allowed in. I would not have had the opportunity to go through a management training program at Central Maine Power, which exposed me to so much, because they didn't create it to 10 years later. I would not have had the opportunity to become Maine's first female, Maine's first native, and at the time, the youngest state economist, because the man who hired me was very progressive and willing to give me a chance. My opportunity at MDF was following a president who had so capably led for 21 years, and then he retired, giving me the opportunity. And at Thomas, I followed a man who had turned the college around and set it on a path of growth for 23 years, and then retired, presenting me with an opportunity. He turned it over to me at a time when higher ed is in a period of complete transformation and turmoil. And it is this transformation and turmoil in higher ed that's given the visionary and bold leaders of the Thomas College Board the courage to be open to the crazy idea that a non-academic could even be considered to run a college. So you see, my success does not mean that I am any smarter than or work any harder than any other woman or man. But my success has in very large part been due to the fact that I was truly born in a state whose values align and reward people with my values, at the right time in our history when a young woman could even be given a chance, and in a place and time where opportunities were given to me. And perhaps even more importantly, when I was surrounded by my family, my friends, and my colleagues who gave me the courage and the support to seize these opportunities as they came. And it is these very people, my family, my friends, and my colleagues, that I'd like to honor and thank tonight. On this occasion, we celebrate women, and there are so many beautiful women who've touched my life. But I first have to start by recognizing the three men in my life. My husband David and our sons Michael and Andrew. They're my strength, my purpose, my absolute unbounded joy of my life, and I thank God every day for the blessing of family. I do want to do a side note. Our son Michael is not here tonight, and I want to mention to you the phrase, watch what you wish for. Throughout Michael growing, and I think Andrew too as well, I always told him to live fully and go after your dreams. And so his dreams brought him to the Peace Corps, where he just started his service in Senegal 2 weeks ago. So that's why he's not with us tonight. So I'm eating my words at this point. My love of family has always been the center of my life, and the woman who most shaped my life was my mother, Maddie Agnes Violet Gagnon. My mother died 10 years ago, 4 days after my 43rd birthday, way too soon, as I had much, much more to learn from her. But I was really fortunate because about 6 months before she passed, I had this wonderful opportunity to ask her all the questions that can never be answered once someone has gone from this place. So one day, I spent several hours at her side in a nursing home, and I had a pad of paper and a pen, and I interviewed her on her life. every detail, what shaped her, who touched her, what she loved, from songs to colors, movies to memories, got the real scoop on how she met my father, wrote them all down. And a picture emerged of my mother that I had never considered. For the first 42 years of my life, she'd simply been my mom, loving unconditionally at every single band concert, no matter how squawky we were, and we were, at every single game, no matter how many we lost. She brought me warm meals to the high school to eat in the hall when I couldn't get home to eat between basketball practice and jazz band. She always welcomed me, and she always welcomed people into our house. And the refrigerator was always full to the brim. She was legendary for that. Very frequently, warm cookies were coming out of the oven. She was a nurse, very calm and caring, and always content. But my most poignant memories of the holiday were of the holidays, when my mother would invite every single widow or widower in the neighborhood to share in the celebration, people who would have been alone at the holiday, people who would never likely have interacted without my mother bringing them together. The humble, strict Baptist, teetotaling farmer's wife, and the sophisticated, blue-haired newspaper reporter who would share stories and laugh together in friendship. And one of my very best friends, whose mother had died when she was 14, and her quiet father, would join us as extended family. All were welcome. So as I interviewed my mom in the 42nd year of my life, I grew to realize that she was much more than just my mother. Not that that wasn't enough, but she was a pioneer of sorts and a very accomplished leader in her own right. How did I not see that she was an active participant in several local civic organizations and a leader in these organizations? How did I not realize that as a school nurse in the last 15 years of her career, she was elected into the Teaching World's Honor Society, an honor of which she was justifiably proud? She participated so fully that she became president of the statewide organization. How could I have missed the fact that she'd been president of the State School Nurses Association and was chosen Maine's School Nurse of the Year? What a wonderful leader. But to me, she was simply my mom, the woman who had always advised me not to buy trouble, meaning don't worry about things that may never come to pass. My wonderful sisters, who I've spent a lifetime trying to emulate. Brenda, quiet, humble, exceedingly kind. Anne, bold, strong, and intuitive, who has taught me one of life's greatest lessons, to trust my intuition. And my new sister through marriage, Susan, whose commitment to family and strong Christian values inspire me daily. My yayas, my three oldest and dearest childhood friends, who are there for me through thick and thin, literally and figuratively, who have always been there during the darkest hours of loss and who can unleash in me a childlike joy of living like no others. And finally, the many incredible women who have been blessed to work with over the years, like Lynn Goldfarb, the first female vice president at CMP, who mentored and inspired me to earn my master's degree. Kay Rand, who taught me through her actions and wise counsel that trust begets, and we should always assume the best in people. Wendy Wolf, who counsels me frequently to place more value on my work and worth. Karen Heck, who constantly urges me to take better care of myself. Theo Calicow and Danielle Rippich, who have mentored me as I strive to get my arms around this new role as college president. Susan Roach, who has served as my sounding board and has showed me how to be fearless in the face of tremendous challenge. And my precious and invaluable assistant, Jean Cross, who guides me daily through the challenges and grueling schedule of being a college president. Simply couldn't do it without her. I could go on and on and on, listing so many people who have shaped my life and my life's work. And I could do another full talk on all of the men who have given me opportunities and mentored and guided me and inspired me throughout the years. And what would emerge is this fact. There is absolutely nothing in my life that I have accomplished on my own. Throughout my career, I have been blessed with people who have hired me and given me the opportunity to work with them. They've mentored me, guided me, picked me up when I've fallen, listened to my crazy ideas, and mused at my unbridled optimism, and of course have set me straight a time or two. And so I thank all of you who have touched me on my leadership journey, and I hope that you will know the role you've played in earning tonight's wonderful honor. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'd like to end tonight, particularly for the young people who are here, and also for every person out there who has a dream of reinventing themselves and starting over. I'm forever collecting quotes to inspire me, and this year's favorite, which I gave to my son as he left for the Peace Corps, is this: set a goal so big that you can't achieve it until you grow into the person who can. Well, my dreams for Thomas College are certainly so big that it's going to take some time for me to grow into the person that can help move the college forward. But the blessing is that I'm surrounded by the treasures of Thomas College, a phenomenal and engaged, committed board, faculty and staff who are so committed to our students. They would run through a wall for them. They are just beyond compare. And the students themselves who inspire me every step of every day. And together, I know that absolutely all things are possible. Thank you, one and all.
Here is the official award presented by the Business Professional Women of Maine, BPW Maine, Futurama Foundation, and the University of Maine at Augusta present the 25th Annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame Award to Laurie, Gagnon, Lachance, nominated by Dr. James D. Libby, Academic Dean, Thomas College, presented March 15, 2014 at the University of Maine at Augusta, signed by Thomas Abbott, University of Maine at Augusta, Rayanne Van der Zanden from BPW Maine, and Judith Clark from BPW Maine Futurama Foundation. Congratulations. And don't go yet. And here is your official pin, and you're getting it right at the induction because this is when we do have it ready. And I also have for you a congratulatory letter from Senator Susan Collins and Representative Mike Mishu, and one from Angus King for you to have tonight. And we are certainly understanding why you were nominated and why you were selected. So congratulations again, and we're glad that you could be here tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now we will do the same thing and have our new inductee for 2014, Patricia Ryan, come up, be here, and her moderator and presenters come up so that we can understand more about her and be glad that she is here with us tonight, too. Okay. I'll just come over here a little way.
Good evening. I'm Trish Riley, and I've been friends with Patty Ryan since before the Women's Hall of Fame was even thought about. So it's an enormous honor for me to be here and to congratulate President Lachance. It sounds pretty good, Laurie. I noticed, I have to tell a little secret, when Senator King was doing his math and pointing out how many years Pat Ryan had been the executive director of the Maine Human Rights Commission, she cringed. But I think that's the greatness of Pat Ryan. She's one of the most humble, hardworking individual who's persevered forever, and I was in this hard work of making equality a reality for Maine, and I was struck, even though you took my line, I was struck in listening to Ashley and Laurie that Pat Ryan was working to make sure Laurie Lachance would get a chance to go to Bowdoin, that women would be allowed to go to Bowdoin. Pat Ryan has been working for her whole career to make sure that Ashley's aspirations that she spoke so eloquently about are realized. This is a woman who hasn't let her foot off the gas pedal. So we're very pleased to be here. And two wonderful people are are here with us to talk and give you a little bit more about Pat Ryan. The first is Eliza Townsend, who's the Executive Director of the Maine Women's Lobby and the Maine Policy Center, formerly the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection. I'm going to introduce them both in the interest of time, and she will be followed by John Carnes. John is a gifted artist. We should have had a display. Gifted artist and the former counsel for the Maine Human Rights Commission, who has worked a very, very long time with Pat. Eliza.
Thank you. Thank you. It really is a privilege to be part of honoring Pat Ryan, whose life's work has significantly improved the lives of other Maine women. Pat deserves recognition for not one, but two actions with statewide impact and enduring value. First, for playing a role in founding the Maine Women's Lobby, and second, for leading the Maine Human Rights Commission for more than 3 decades. To communicate the profound impact of the Women's Lobby, I need to tell you a little bit about how it began. The United Nations named 1977 as the International Year of the Woman, and there was held in Houston, Texas, the first national conference on women. 19 delegates traveled from Maine to participate, and they came home energized and wanting to do something to make life better for women and girls in Maine. And they settled on securing state funding for what were then called battered women's shelters. They lined up a sponsor, they worked the bill, they garnered seemingly widespread support. But when the legislature went home that year, there was no additional funding. And they were crushed. So they went to the legislators whom they talked with and said, "What happened?" And they were told, in the wee hours of the morning when the spending decisions were being made, you weren't here. There was no voice advocating for Maine women. And they said, never again. They went back, they regrouped, they formed the Maine Women's Lobby with $2 memberships, and they raised enough money to have a lobbyist in the halls of the State House in 1979. And no surprise, when that session ended, there was funding for battered women's shelters. And the Maine Women's Lobby has had a presence in the State House for every session for those 35 years since. Pat Ryan was a founding mother of what is still the only organization with a full-time presence in Augusta working on the full range of issues that affect women: freedom from violence, freedom from discrimination, access to health care, including reproductive health care, and the issue that shapes every other issue, economic security. Because, of course, whether a woman has money or not determines her autonomy, her health, her ability to escape a violent relationship, and her children's prospects. The impact of the presence of the lobby has been comprehensive and profound. The lobby joined the earliest efforts to amend Maine law to prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation, and it stayed in the fight for more than 2 decades. When that fight was won, we moved on to help secure marriage equality. The lobby led the way in requiring that insurers cover your mammogram, and that they cover contraception to the same extent they cover other prescriptions like, say, Viagra. The lobby helped codify Roe v. Wade into Maine law, and over again, it has helped to defend against attempts to undermine a woman's ability to make her own reproductive decisions. This year, we're active in the movement to accept federal funds to extend health insurance to nearly 70,000 Maine people. Founding the Maine Women's Lobby would be reason enough for Pat to be inducted into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, but her impact is much more significant. For more than 3 decades, she served as the executive director of the Maine Human Rights Commission, the state agency charged with enforcing Maine's anti-discrimination laws. Her leadership took the agency from fledgling status to an established, credible, and effective force ensuring equal treatment for all under the law. We almost take for granted today our expectation that Maine women and minorities will have equal treatment in employment, housing, public accommodations, and access to credit. It's essential to remember that it hasn't always been the case, and that Pat's successful management of the Maine Human Rights Commission played a critical role as our state has adapted to evolving social mores. After all, ensuring a fair shot for all represents a threat to the status quo and is often greeted with great resistance.
I've recently had the opportunity to work more closely with Pat. When she retired, she graciously agreed to rejoin the board of the Maine Women's Lobby, and where she serves both as the chair of our legislative committee as well as in the thankless job of treasurer. And I can tell you that whether she is dealing with policy or with numbers, Pat's measured, steady approach guides us ever forward. She's passionate about the issues, but pragmatic and strategic about how we approach them. She patiently asks questions until she understands, and then unerringly zeroes in on what matters and doesn't bother with what doesn't. She's sensible, soft-spoken, and unflappable. In a world that values noise and busyness for their own sake, she demonstrates that a calm and quiet approach is equally, if not more, effective. By helping to establish the advocacy organization that gives voice to Maine women as policy decisions are made, and by devoting 3 decades to fighting discrimination, Pat has made an outstanding contribution to improving opportunities for all Maine women, and I'm delighted to see her inducted into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Thanks.
Good evening, honored inductees and honorable guests. I have to first say that it's an absolute privilege for me to stand here and help introduce to you inductee Patricia Ryan. When I spoke with Pat about this evening's events a week or so ago, she said that my job would be to cover the middle of her life. And I said, okay, how much time do I have? And she said 4 minutes, maybe 5. So I knew I was up against a significant challenge. So I challenged myself to come up with 3 words that I thought would express something of the extraordinary character of this woman I've known for 35 years and worked with at the Maine Human Rights Commission for, I think, 27. We were doing math earlier. And I think I've done it. And the 3 words are persistence, integrity, and presence. And let me address them in reverse order. Presence. Pat has it. A special presence, a form of charisma that when used for the good can be a powerful element in positive leadership. You all know Pat for the warm and friendly person she is, but when she walks into a room or a meeting or a hearing, you turn and watch and you wait to hear what she has to say, what she has to contribute, and you know it's going to be very thoughtful and articulated with precision. Let me just give you a little aside on this particular subject. My son Tom, who's now a big 6-footer and very broad shoulders and absolutely adores Pat and has been a lifetime friend with Pat and Charlie's daughter Jenny, once came to me when he was about 13 and he said, "Dad, you know I love Jenny's mom, but sometimes she intimidates me." Well, if you've ever had a teenage boy in your home, you know that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? So, thank you, Pat. Integrity. During the 27 years I worked with Pat, I came to appreciate that she has an innate sense of the right thing to do. Meeting in her office to discuss how to deal with a swirling maelstrom of issues, attacks, requests, demands, she always applied the front page test. When the morning paper appears on everybody's doorstep, how are we going to explain the position of the Human Rights Commission and explain why it took that position? I think these days it's referred to as transparency. For Pat, it was always just the right thing to do. And persistence. During those 27 years and after, I've watched Pat set her eye and heart on a goal for human rights in Maine. Some of those goals she could accomplish quickly and easily. Others took years, even decades, but she never gave up. Let me offer a short, incomplete list of some of her accomplishments while executive director of the commission. When she began in 1979, the Human Rights Act protected Maine citizens from discrimination based on their race and color, sex, religion, disability, national ancestry, and national origin and ancestry. By the time she retired in 2011, she had led the fight to establish or expand rights under the Act to protect people from whistleblower retaliation, workers' comp retaliation, and discrimination in medical benefits for pregnancy-related conditions. She expanded the rights of people with disabilities to gain access, physical access, to housing and public accommodations. And she protected people from discrimination based on the receipt of public assistance, and from discrimination in education based on sex and disability, race, and national origin. And finally, two that I know have special meaning for Pat: protection for families with children in housing, and the long battle struggle resulting in passage of the Sexual Orientation Bill. You will forgive me on this particular occasion if I'm making it sound as if Pat did all these things on her own. She will be the first to tell you that the hard work was done by good legislatures, good governors, and most especially outstanding, dedicated, sometimes long-suffering advocates, some of whom are in the room tonight, and many, many more who cannot be here. Pat might even claim to have been merely a facilitator or coordinator in all of this, but we know that she was a true leader. At the Maine Human Rights Commission, she carried our banner and gave us our direction of march for 32 years. She was our leader, and she will always be a great leader for the state of Maine. Thanks, Pat, and congratulations.
Thank you, John and Liza, for beautiful words that I think just began to touch on the greatness that is Pat Ryan. And one of her great attributes is in any meeting, in any room, she somehow always got the last word. So it seems appropriate to now introduce you to the great Pat Ryan.
Thank you, everyone. It's really an honor, and I'm humbled to be here tonight to be inducted into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. I'm particularly happy, as Laurie indicated earlier when she was beginning her remarks, to tell you that I am so happy that I'm here tonight with Laurie, someone that I have admired for a number of years, first knowing of her in her role as state economist. So thank you, BPW, and everyone else here tonight for honoring both of us. And I am so pleased that this ceremony is taking place at the University of Maine in Augusta, where the Hall of Fame is permanently located in the Bennett Cates Library. For it was Bennett Cates who started a discussion with me over 40 years ago that has led me to where I'm standing today. In 1973, the Maine legislature was considering ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment. Now just think back to the beginning of this evening. What is it that Ray Ann said about BPW and the Equal Rights Amendment? In 1973, the Maine legislature was considering ratification of the ERA. Bennett, then Senator Cates, wanted to know more about it, and he asked a neighbor and a friend if they knew anyone that he could talk to. A small group of women had been getting together to discuss issues. I was part of that group, and Bennett's friend had participated in several of the discussions. She asked me if I would talk to Senator Cates. I went to the State House, we talked, he considered, and he became a supporter of ratification of the amendment. I became enthralled with the process on the third floor of the State House. And when the Equal Rights Amendment was defeated in a Senate vote later that year, I joined a meeting among women representing various groups throughout the state, and we formed a coalition to work on securing passage of the ERA. I chaired the coalition, working with a diverse group of over 25 organizations, including business and professional women. At the same time, the Maine Women's Political Caucus, an organization that does not exist today, was formed to encourage more women to run for office. There were no women in the state Senate at that point. The caucus became successful, and we turned out the coalition a full-time 6-month campaign, resulting in Maine's becoming the 31st state to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. Good things happened from that experience for many women. In the next year, 51 women became legislative candidates, and 38 of them won their primaries. The number of women serving in the legislature substantially increased from where it had been 2 years before, and we saw what a strong, united effort could produce on the 3rd floor of the State House. In the 70s, things were much different than they are now. There were few women in state government, or in the legislature, or in visible management roles in the private sector. Women had only achieved legal protection from sex discrimination with passage of the Federal Civil Rights Act not even 10 years earlier. Sex discrimination was not originally included in the Federal Civil Rights Act. In a last-ditch attempt to prevent passage of the bill, opponents added sex, assuring that it would assure defeat of the Civil Rights Act. They were wrong. The Civil Rights Act was passed, and discrimination in the workplace became illegal because of sex. That didn't happen in Maine right away, however. When our state was debating enacting a similar anti-discrimination law, which would become the Maine Human Rights Act, sex was intentionally excluded and was only added 2 years after the Human Rights Act became effective in 1974. But by then, issues relating to women were getting attention. Some of us were working on workplace, housing, public accommodations issues, others reproductive freedom, others electing women to public office, others domestic violence. As Eliza related to you, it was to work on a domestic violence bill that caused the next big thing to occur when the Maine Women's Lobby was created following that being missed from the table. Madeline Kunin was former governor of Vermont, and she was recently in Maine and addressed the Women's Economic Senate in Augusta, a conference sponsored by the Maine Women's Lobby, Maine Women's Policy Center. She said, "If you're not on the table, you're on the menu." There was no one on the table that night during deliberations by the Appropriations Committee, and we were indeed on the table. As Eliza said, following that vote, we vowed that that would never happen again, created the lobby, and hired the first full-time lobbyist to represent women and the issues that were of concern to women and girls throughout the state. In the 70s and the 80s, things were different because there was press coverage on almost everything that was proposed or debated or decided that had to do with sex discrimination. Sex discrimination complaints became the largest number of complaints filed with the Maine Human Rights Commission, and every decision that was made was deemed a breakthrough and something that the press wanted to write about and the public wanted to know more about. Month after month, year after year, the spotlight was shone upon the firsts. Women brave enough to bring rejection forward and challenge what had always been the norm. We moved on, we addressed pregnancy. John Carnes mentioned the medical benefits for pregnancy that were achieved with amendment to the Human Rights Act. But first, we had to get the courts to recognize that discrimination on the basis of pregnancy was in fact a form of sex discrimination. There was no question on the part of enforcement agencies that if you had a woman who was pregnant and you terminated her because she was pregnant, that would be illegal discrimination. The courts didn't see it that way. They argued along a logic that since only women could get pregnant, there was no comparable discrimination against men. And so, therefore, there was no unlawful sex discrimination. Pregnancy had to be added as a specific item in both federal and state laws in the late 70s. Then in the mid-80s, mid-90s, sexual harassment became the focus of enormously large numbers of complaints and particularly a lot of press coverage. After the mid-1990s, however, the newness of sex discrimination issues had disappeared and the attention of the press had faded. Complaints continued to be filed, issues continued to be raised, guidance continued to be issued, but there had been developing a growing recognition of the worth and value of women in the workplace overall, and it wasn't as interesting to cover anymore. So many started to ask, okay, since it's not in the spotlight anymore, and we've passed all the laws that assure non-discrimination, we're done, right? Are we done? Have we done enough? We've done a lot, but we haven't done enough, and we are not done. It's harder now to feel the impact of change than it was 30 or 40 years ago for most people across the board. Perhaps. It's harder to have that spotlight on every advance. The train seems to have slowed down. There's not the image of the great rolling train gathering momentum with a lot of people involved. But the issues remain. Some of them are the same that they were decades ago, some evolving from the early issues, and some new issues. Economic security for women, reproductive rights, discrimination still need to be worked for. We need to make sure that the advances we have made do not disappear, as in the case of reproductive rights. And we need to make sure that the advances we have made in the area of workplace or educational institution or public accommodation discrimination continue to move forward and continue to gain strength from glass ceilings being shattered. With a loud roar, we need to be aware of new issues that need our attention, such as the disturbing numbers and tragedies of human trafficking. We need to work to encourage women not to become complacent, but to join us at the table. We've seen how important that is. We should all make sure we're there. Thank you very much.
The Business and Professional Women of Maine, the BPW Maine Futurama Foundation, and the University of Maine at Augusta present the 25th Annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame Award to Patricia E. Ryan, nominated by Dana Hayes, Maine Women's Lobby, presented March 15, 2014 at the University of Maine at Augusta, signed by Thomas Abbott, University of Maine at Augusta, Rayanne van der Zanden, BPW Maine, and Judith Clark, BPW Maine Futurama Foundation. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Letter from Congressman Michoud, from Senator Angus King, and Senator Susan Collins for you.
Great. Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
I am sure that everybody here is aware of what great inductees we have this year and all that they have done for women and girls and everyone in the state. And we appreciate all that they have done, and we want to thank all the information that was provided by each of the presenters this evening to learn more about them. And we want to thank any individuals and businesses who support the Maine Women's Hall of Fame and the BPW Maine Futurama Foundation with their generous donations, contributions. Those that were received by March 10th are listed in the program. and monies donated to the Hall of Fame itself or in honor or in memory of someone are also listed in there, and they all augment our scholarship program through BPW Maine Futurama Foundation. There are a couple of pages in the program booklet that explain more about that. And for 2014, six $1,200 scholarships will be awarded, and extra donation forms and envelopes are available at the table over there, and any ones would be considered as a donation. And we want to have special appreciation for the many people involved here today, the sponsoring organizations, UMA Facilities Department, the sponsors of the inductees and those participating in the induction ceremony this evening, the judges, the special committees of the Hall of Fame. Special thanks to Marilyn Ladd and Judith Clark for all of their assistance with our silver anniversary. This event would not be possible without all their hard work and the work of many others. And we appreciate all of you joining us here this evening to honor our 25th Maine Women's Hall of Fame. I just want to also mention that the flowers on the tables and the plants here, the use of them tonight was donated by Longfellow Greenhouse, and we appreciate that. And there is a plant for each of our two inductees to take home with them from the display over there with their pictures. And that is what the pictures look like, matted and framed, and they are on the wall at the library. So I hope that you will all take time at some point to go over there and enjoy seeing them there, and that they're on permanent display. And we hold this ceremony each year annually on the third Saturday in March, and we do it to honor Women's History Month. And nomination deadline is December 1st, and it's not too early for each of you to start thinking about nominating someone for next year for our 26th Maine Women's Hall of Fame in 2015. And if you would like to have a nomination form, just get to me with your name, and I would be glad to provide one. And we'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight to honor our two newest inductees. And since these probably are no use to you, we can use them again. Please leave them on the table over there when you go out. And each of you have a safe drive home. We appreciate your being here, and hopefully you'll consider nominating someone or being with us again next year. Thank you all very much.